to the heading that we are now trying to check with the expression for maximum surface voltage gradient for number of subconductors n equal to or greater than 3. Cosine law of electric field intensity with respect to the position on the surface of conductor E versus theta. It's a cosine curve. It is for number of conductors equal to 2. Okay. Now, if the number of conductors are not 2, but rather they are 3 or maybe 4, 6 or even 8, higher numbers. Okay. So these configurations are very commonly used, especially for conductors. It's very commonly used for extra high voltage AC transmission. You might have seen somewhere maybe there is no single conductor in one phase. Rather, there are 4 sets of conductors. They are hanging on the tower structure in individual string. Okay. So in that case, the geometry of the conductor positions will modify the relationship between the radius of the bundle with respect to spacing between the adjacent conductors. So here these different configurations are drawn, and of course, as I told you that this is application of electric fields again, which you study in the second year level. Here you can see R represents this. Let us say if this is let us say one of the phases having 3 subconductors, then the effective radius of the bundle is capital R. This is standard notation. Then capital B is the spacing between consecutive subconductors in a bundle. So this to this distance, shortest straight distance is B. Similarly, distance from this phase to this phase is B. Okay, and then from this phase to this phase again. So remember that these are subconductors within a bundle. So capital R, okay, and then is a capital B. If there are 3 subconductors which are located in a balanced manner over a circular space, you may consider an imaginary conductor space here. Okay, so a circle passing through all the subconductors, and they are like forming an equilateral triangle. In that case, the relationship between R and B, where R is the distance from the center of the equilateral triangle all the way up to any one of the subconductors. So R will be equal to B by root 3. So this is by the geometry of this particular equilateral triangle. R is the distance from the center of the triangle all the way up to the corner or a subconductor. So this scenario will be there for n equal to 3. So kindly focus your attention on this particular first configuration, right? This first configuration where separation is B is R. Okay. So this is very important. Now, what we are trying to find out is maximum surface voltage gradients, right? Maximum surface voltage gradients. And we have seen in the previous derivation that maximum surface voltage gradient will be on the inner side of the bundle. Outer side it is minimum, inner side it will be maximum. So that's why at the bottom here we can see that we are trying to find out maximum surface voltage gradient or electric field on the inner side, right? So on the inner side, naturally there will be 3 sets of forces acting on a point on the surface of, let us say, one of the conductors. Okay. So what are those 3 forces? Okay. Please remember that 1, 2, 3. These are the charges. These are charged conductors, and we are trying to find out the electric field on the surface of this particular conductor. So that point where we want to measure is point P. This is point P. It is on the surface of the conductor. So that point P will experience 3 sets of forces, 3 electric field lines. One is this one. Okay. One particular component is shown here at the bottom. Okay. You can see, right? Just a minute. One of the components that is shown here is this, right? Q upon twice pi epsilon 0 1 upon R. That means this is the component. You can see here the arrow, the first component, that is this particular arrow, central one. This is indicating the electric field on this surface of this conductor due to its own charge. So when we say due to its own charge, so we put the charge per unit length q upon twice pi epsilon 0. And what is the distance of a point on its surface from the center? It is a radius. Please do not get confused. The radius here, in the earlier derivation, we have used the radius symbol as rho. But here it is used as r. Here it is indicated as r. Okay, that was for a single phase line, single conductor. Okay, but now these are three subconductors, so it is indicated by small r. So first component of force or electric field is this. That is what is highlighted here, right? In a similar fashion, you can see that this particular conductor will also leading to one electric field component like this, and the other subconductor will also lead to production of an electric field component like this. So what are these components now? So we have to evaluate what are these components. So let us consider that we want to find out this component. And by symmetry, if all the subconductors are equal charge and their distances are also balanced with respect to this particular point P here, okay, so we can write a common term for both of these, that is q upon twice pi epsilon 0. They also have a charge of q, okay, and distance of this particular point from this point is actually b, so it should have been 1 by b. It should have been 1 by b, but there is some phenomena that is called as a stress doubling within the bundled conductor. That's why this is 2 by b. This is 2 by stress doubling. Here it is, we are writing 1 by r. This is charge. This is electric field due to its own charge. But when we talk about electric field due to the charge on the other subconductor, a stress doubling has been observed. So that is 2 by b instead of 1 by b. But distance is 1 by b. Should have been 1 by b, but stress doubling 2 by b. Okay. And similar term will be resulting for a component that is visible here. Okay. Again, this should be equal to q upon twice pi epsilon 0 2 by b. And one first component we have already written, that is this one. So you can see that if there is a point on the surface of one of the subconductors, then it will experience three forces. That is, one due to its own charge and two due to the charge on the other two subconductors. So we have to add these three forces in order to arrive at the resultant maximum surface voltage gradient, right? Resultant maximum. So naturally, let us add q upon twice pi epsilon 0 1 by r. This is first term. Then plus two such terms, q upon twice pi epsilon 0 2 by b and plus 2 q upon twice pi epsilon 0 2 by b. Okay. And then we take q upon twice pi epsilon 0, then 1 by r outside, and then try to solve it. And in the bracket, inside the bracket, you'll agree that the resultant will be 2 times of twice r by b. 2 times of twice r by b, and then plus 1. Okay. So that 2 times of twice r by b can be simplified, and it can be arranged in this particular form of equation that is shown here at the bottom. Okay. So how it is arrived at is very, very simple, that you can see this is the first term. So all taken outside. Okay. So first term will have only one inside, right? Plus then the inside you have q upon twice pi epsilon 0 1 by r taken out. So you have to multiply by r for the second and the third term. So that's why r is here. Okay. And then b by 2 is replaced. Okay. B by 2 is replaced. And when you replace b, you have to understand that actually r is related with b with respect to b by root 3. So those replacements are done, and then they can be simplified in order to arrive at such a relationship. Okay. So we are going to see the example how this summation of these three terms results into this particular type of equation. Okay. N minus 1 into r upon small r upon capital R. This is for n greater than equal to 3. It is observed that due to the symmetry of charges within a bundle, right, it is possible to get a single general equation applicable for all the conditions for n greater than equal to 3. N can be 3, n can be 4, n can be 6, n can be 8. For all different types of combinations that are visible here on the slide, one common equation will be applicable. One common equation will be applicable, and it can be simplified, derived and explained how this is possible. Okay, so for this, let us consider the second configuration. Let us consider the second configuration, wherein the configuration consists of this particular type of combination. Okay, where you have four subconductors in a bundle. So they are, to have a meaningful electric field distribution, they are evenly distributed in this geometry. So you can consider them to be forming a square, right? So distance between every adjacent conductor is capital P, standard notation. Then distance from the center of the square up to the corner, okay, up to the edge or corner of the square will be equal to R. So relationship between R and V can be very easily arrived at, this being a square geometry. So we can express distance from the center of the square up to the corner will be expressed in terms of its side as equal to R is equal to B by root 2. This is due to the geometry of square distribution of location of the subconductors. And naturally, since there are four subconductors, N will be equal to 4. And here you can observe, let us again try to evaluate the maximum surface voltage gradient on surface of one of the subconductors. So for convenience, we are showing the bottom subconductor. Okay. So when there is a bottom subconductor, you can see that there will be actually two components acting along this particular line. Okay. First is the electric field due to charge on the conductor itself, its own charge. Okay. So this particular component will be written in a very similar manner like this: Q upon twice pi epsilon 0 1 by R. This is the first component due to charge on the conductor itself, right? Then the next component can be drawn here, just overlapping this one, okay, like this, the next component. So you can always see that next component is because of this conductor in line with the bottom conductor. So this conductor will induce an electric field, and this naturally, this I have shown with a larger arrow. That larger arrow you can see here how it is. It is with a stress doubling. The distance here is twice R. So it should have been written 1 by twice R, but stress doubling, it is causing 2 upon twice R. So distance from this point to this point is twice R. So 1 upon twice R multiplied by 2. So Q upon twice pi epsilon 0, 2 upon 2R. This is the second term. And by similar logic, we can now also write the other two electric field components here. One is this due to conductor here, okay, and then next is this particular one, okay, it is due to the left hand side conductor. So there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 elements. So all these 4 electric field components are to be added. Then only we'll be able to arrive at the equation. And please remember that as the geometry of the conductor changes, the angle between these two forces is known as 45 degrees. And here it was earlier, this being equilateral triangle, so it is very easy to find out that this angle, total angle will be 60, and that's why this angle will be 30. So these angles are required that when we add the electric forces, if you remember, especially you study in the first year mechanics also, by knowing the angle of these vector components, you can find out component along x as cos of angle, and then component along y direction as sine. Okay, so all the components that are getting added in this particular direction, you have to multiply by cos 30. So that takes care of this term root 3, and that's why we don't see here any root 3 term for n equal to 3. Okay. Similar fashion, we can work out, add all the 4 forces and reduce the form to the equation Q upon twice pi epsilon 0 1 by R 1 plus n minus 1 R upon R. This is a standard equation that can be obtained for any of these configurations, right? Let us move to the next particular combination, wherein number of subconductors may be 6. Large current is to be carried, right? In that case, subconductors may be larger. Okay, so n is equal to 6, And when we say n is equal to 6, again all the 6 subconductors are evenly placed, okay, at the corners of hexagon. If we connect all these points by straight line, you'll see that is the hexagon. And due to the geometry of the hexagon, if there is a circle passing through all these subconductors, then what you realize is that actually radius of the circle will be equal to distance between the adjacent conductors, or maybe side of a hexagon. Okay, R will be equal to B for n equal to 6. And again, here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, components of forces here, and then 2 components of forces overlapping here. Okay, one due to the bottom conductor itself, and other due to the other conductor at the top. So 6 subconductors are there. That's why any point that is kept on the surface of a conductor, it will experience 6 forces. It will experience 6 forces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 in the center. Again, they can be written with the standard notation, substituted, and then they can be added in order to minimize the equation in this nature again. Okay, and similar logic can be applied. Number of subconductors can be 8. In that case, if the number of conductors are 8, so you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 forces here, and then 2 overlapping here. 6 plus 2, 8. So electric point, this line charge forces are to be added, electric field, in order to arrive at the net electric field. This you solve in the secondary level. Several problems you might have solved. Several point charges, then they are getting added, then due to symmetry, there is some kind of cancellation, only Z component remains, and all that. This kind of problems you have solved, but now it is the application in terms of evaluating stress on the surface. Okay, again here, due to the geometry of 8 subconductors, the relationship between R and B is that R will be equal to B by 2 sine of angle. Okay, so this angle is a standard 22.5 according to the geometry of a octagon. Now this is a hexagon, this is an octagon. 8 sides will be there if I try to join all the points with a straight line. Okay, and this is the relationship for an octagon, and naturally n will be equal to 8. And you can see here for 6 only we require so much of space, and for writing all 8 components, it will be really difficult to express these equations here in this small space. That's why it is not written. And you can, and see here the distances are also not very straightforward. You can see this distance is twice r sine pi by 8, this distance is twice r sine pi by 4, then this distance is twice r sine 3 pi by 8. So it is due to the geometry, of this octagon, and these distances are required in order to substitute here in the denominator. We want to substitute here, like it is in this case twice r. So instead of twice r, let us say I want to express a similar thing here. So it will be twice r sine pi by 8. Okay, so of course this derivation is not asked how you will arrive at one final equation. Okay, but you must be aware that it is not very difficult to arrive by knowing how it is evaluated. Three subconductors, 3 forces. 4 subconductors, 4 sets of fields that are to be added. 6, so there will be 6 components, and then 8 accordingly, right? Just to show you the sample equations, how things are calculated, we may consider a case of n equal to 4 and n equal to 6 in the next slide before we move over to one of the derivations. Okay, so I hope that you are able to understand this one. And as I said, that those who are conceptually clear with the electric field calculations, this is nothing new at all, except for knowing the geometry, that if it is a triangle, then what is R equal to B? It's a B by root 3. Okay. And if it's a square, then what is the relationship between R and B for n equal to 4? And so on, like this, R equal to B and for n equal to 6. So ultimately, what all you want is to know what is the distance. Okay, what is the distance between 2 subconductors? Okay, and then you will be able to substitute it, right? So this is the idea. Okay. Right. Let us now just move ahead and check with the derivation for the three-phase line. Shall we proceed now? Okay, right. Okay, please check here. We are trying to show the sample calculation for n equal to 4, where relationship between R and B is that R is equal to B by root 2. And this one is called as a quadrilateral spacing. Okay, quadrilateral spacing, rather it is a square itself. Quadrilateral means 4 sides, right? So see how the components are added. For n equal to 4, there will be 4 elements, q upon twice by epsilon 0 1 by r. This is the first element due to the conductor itself. Then this is due to the charge on the conductor, which is exactly on the opposite, diametrically opposite corner at the top, 2 by 2r. And then plus 2 conductors are at the side, which are at an angle of 45 degrees with respect to the surface of bottom conductor. So 2 by r root 2, okay, r root 2 means b, actually 2 by b, it is r root 2, and then cos 45. If you try to substitute the value of cos 45 and try to simplify this, 1 by root 2, then this will become root 2. So again, try to sort out with respect to 2 upon 2r, and it is very easy to simplify this one and get it as 1 by r plus 1 plus 3r upon r. So this 3 can be actually expressed as equal to 4 minus 1. So this equation q upon twice by epsilon 0 1 by r 1 plus n minus 1, 4 minus 1 times of r by r. Okay, so here it is at the bottom. This is the standard equation that I was telling, that it will arrive for all the cases that were shown in the equation earlier, okay, in the diagram. Then we move ahead and check for n is equal to 6. So here b will be equal to r, and it is a hexagonal spacing. Again, for hexagonal spacing, there will be 6 components, q upon twice by epsilon 0. This is due to the conductor itself, right? One of the subconductors. Then this is due to diametrically opposite conductor. It is located at a distance of twice r, okay? And then plus 2 components, right? They are oriented at cos of 60 degrees for hexagonal spacing, and then 2 components, they are located left and right at an angle of 30 degrees. Okay, so that is what the idea. Okay. Okay. So now let us check with the further. Just a minute. Okay. Again, like this can be sorted, and you see here we again arrive at the term. You can simplify this. ये थोड़ा सा आप just you can take a pencil and a rough page and try to solve this one and check whether you get this q upon twice by epsilon 0 1 by r 1 plus 5 r by r. So this 5 again can be written as n minus 1, 6 minus 1, and again you see that the type of equation that results looks like this, right? So very similar equation, and it is applicable for 3, 4, 6, and this will be utilized for the derivation at a later stage as well, and very easy to correlate, right? So these are just the sample calculations. Maybe you can check it for you or yourself. You may take a snapshot and try to break through these steps कि यहाँ से यहाँ पहुँच सकते हैं या नहीं, ये आप snapshot ले लीजिए और वो अपन exercise एक कर सकते हैं. तो this gives you a good practice of small calculations, the kind of calculations that are usually asked in the examination of MCQ type. So आपको उस तरह के सिंपल स्टेप्स में करने के लिए आप स्नैपशॉट लेके ये स्टेप से ये स्टेप पे कैसे पहुंचना है वो कैलकुलेशन करके आप देख सकते हैं. ठीक है, so you may take a snapshot of this. All right. Now we just move ahead and take a look at the very important derivation. Many times this derivation is asked in the examination, that is Mangold formula. also named after the scientist Mark Mengele, and so different people have contributed to this, right? So all the names of the scientists: Mangold, Mark Mengele formula, right? What is this formula all about? So you should focus your attention with respect to the diagram shown on the right hand side here. Okay, see that there are actually three phase AC line. There is a three phase AC line, single circuit, right, with horizontal configuration. Three phase AC line. So you can see phase R, phase Y, phase B, let us say, right, having charges Q1, Q2, and Q3, right? Phase R, phase Y, phase B, Q1, Q2, Q3, the respective charges. And these are all arranged in the horizontal configuration. So here the tower is invisible, right? Actually, you can imagine these three conductors are hanging above the ground. So this is the ground surface. They're hanging above the ground at a height of h, which may be like 13 to 15 meters. Okay. So, and while they're hanging, they will be horizontally placed with respect to each other. They are along a horizontal configuration. That is the horizontal, very commonly used configuration as far as the three-phase lines are concerned. Okay. So while these horizontal configuration, three phases are there, you please focus the attention that not only these are like three-phase configuration, but imagine that actually each of the phase will also have subconductors, maybe n equal to 2, n equal to 3, n equal to 4, that we have just now seen. So that's why within each of the phase, every subconductor will have a diameter of twice r, okay, or a radius equal to small r. So that is what is being indicated by this particular fine diagram here. Within a phase, there may be several subconductors, each having diameter of twice r. Okay, and then the second thing is that we have to remember that if there are n number of subconductors in the bundle, then the geometric mean radius has to be calculated as R equivalent is equal to capital R n r upon r whole thing raised to power 1 by n. This is purely a geometric relationship in terms of number of subconductors. You want to arrive at the equivalent radius of individual subconductors. So that is calculated as R n r upon r raised to power 1 by n. So you have to remember this one. Okay. Right. Of course, now the other dimensions are that the ground effect is considered, right? Ground is closer to the three-phase conductors. That's why the effect of ground, and here you can see at the bottom, image conductors of, let us say, phase R has been indicated for just to mark the dimensions. Okay. So the image conductor is exactly at the same depth as the height of the conductor above ground. So this is twice h. Right, this is twice h. That means this distance from ground below will be h. Okay, then this image will have a distance with respect to y phase as equal to under root of this square plus this square. Okay, so you can see that actually when you want to calculate, so this distance, okay, this is twice h, and then you can see that there is this distance. This is equal to separation s. Okay. So that's why by the Pythagoras theorem, we try to find out this one. Okay, so this distance is actually indicated as equal to under root of 4h square plus s square. Right? So that is twice h whole square plus s square square root. So this way we try to find out this distance, and in a similar fashion, it is easy to identify, right? This particular value of distance as well, right? So distance from this image all the way to the third phase conductor will be under root of twice h whole square plus twice s. So now this is s plus s, so twice s whole square. So this is how the dimensions are marked. Separation between the phase conductor is capital S. Please remember, separation between the conductors within the bundle, it was represented as capital B. Here, this is between the phases, it is represented as capital S. Distance from R to phase B will be equal to twice of S. So rest of the things are quite indicative here in the diagram. So this configuration, for this configuration, we want to evaluate where is the maximum electric stress. Okay, whether the electric stress at what point it is maximum. Okay. So for this, what we do is we try to find out the electric stress on the surface of conductors. Let us say for the conductors which are located on the outer side of this configuration. Okay. So like here Q1 and Q3, three conductors are there. So Q1 and Q3, they are symmetrically located with respect to Q2. One is on the left and other is on the right. So we try to find out the electric stress on the surface of outer phases. These are outer phases, Q1 and Q3. Outer with respect to the overall configuration. This is the inner phase. Inner phase means that it is being it is being shadowed by one phase on the left and other phase on the right. But the other two phases, they have only the phase conductors on one of their sides. Their other sides are free. Okay, that is why these two are actually outer phases, and this one is the inner phase. Okay, so we want to find out where is the electric stress maximum, whether electric stress is maximum on the outer phases or whether it is there on the inner phase. Okay, and at the same time, inner, or you may consider this may be called as a central phase. That is also one of the ways, outer phases and the central phase, because it's central to the two conductors. Okay, so we are going to calculate that one, and we try to realize. But as far as our present understanding of electric stresses is concerned, we realize that actually electric stress is higher on the inner side of the bundle, and it may be, we can imagine that the central phase may have a larger stress and outer phases may have a smaller stress. So let us check what happens as far as the derivations are concerned. This Mangold formula or Mart-Mengele formula, this is commonly asked in the examination, okay, for the derivation purpose. But of course, we don't know really now the examinations what will be the format, but we should be prepared for either scenario, that we should be prepared for the theory, and we should also revise it with respect to the multiple choice questions. Because if at all there is a kind of a subjective examination, then there is no coming back. We may deliver in terms of objective formats, and then the theoretical concept is not clear. That will be a dangerous scenario. Understanding the theory well, you can answer any question. That's not a big deal. Okay. So let us check with the Mangold formula. Okay. So this Mangold formula is about the horizontal configuration, three-phase conductors, and within each phase there may be subconductors, maybe 2, 3, 4, as we have seen. Okay, and we want to arrive at with the effect of ground. So this gives more accurate result, accounting the effect of ground as well. Okay, so consider a case of three-phase AC line with horizontal configuration, right? Let Q1, Q2, and Q3 be the instantaneous charges on the bundle, right? So Q1, Q2, Q3. So this may be for, let us say, R phase, Y phase, V phase. Okay. Now please recollect that whenever you have, let us say, n number of charge conductors, then the Maxwell's potential coefficients, which we derived earlier for a single phase, and then written a general equation also. The Maxwell's potential coefficient matrix, this will have 3 by 3 elements, that is 9 elements in the matrix. Okay, so 3 by 3 means that there will be 3 diagonal elements, right, and 6 off diagonal elements, right? Total 9, 3 diagonal elements and 6 off diagonal elements. So those who are attending classes regularly, they will realize that Maxwell's potential coefficients are the one which relates potential with the charge coefficients. Okay, and they depend upon the dimensions. So when there are 3 charge conductors, so for 3 charge conductors, the dimensions will be 3 by 3. That means the matrix will be 3 by 3 for Maxwell's potential coefficients. And within this 3 by 3 matrix, there will be 3 diagonal elements due to charge on the conductor themselves. Let us say this charge Q1. Okay, so this will have component Ln. Okay, this P11, Maxwell's potential coefficient, it depends upon the dimension. This has the standard form as natural log of distance from its image, distance from its own image. So Q1, distance from its own image is twice h. Okay, divided by the equivalent bundle radius of R equivalent, that is distance from the center of the R phase all the way up to the surface of the conductor itself. Okay, distance from the image onto its surface and distance from its own charge. Okay, so numerator is from image and denominator it's from the own charge. So R equivalent. Okay, R equivalent. So ln twice h upon R equivalent. If you remember, for single phase, there we were using a notation of rho. Okay, but there we have not introduced the concept of bundled conductors. Now since we are working with bundled conductors, so rho gets replaced by R equivalent, twice h upon R equivalent. Okay. Now this same scenario will exist for all the diagonal elements of the Maxwell's potential coefficient matrix, that is P22, P33. 22 will correspond to charge on Q2. Okay. So charge on Q2, again, it will have its own image at a distance of twice h, and it will have the distance on the surface of the conductor from its own center as equal to R equivalent, because all conductors have equal radius and all conductors are symmetrically located at a equal height with respect to the ground. Similarly is the case for P33. So three terms, diagonal terms, due to the charges of the conductor and its own image. Numerator is the image distance and denominator is the distance with respect to its own axis. Okay. Naturally, R equivalent, we have to use this particular expression. You have to remember this also while solving with the numerical examples. This is used R into n small r upon R capital R, rest whole thing raised to the power 1 by n. Okay. So we are first writing the Maxwell's potential coefficient, right, for three conductors. So that's why, as there are three conductors, that's three charges, and consequently the size will be 3 by 3. Okay. We have to remember what is this diagram, okay, and then carry forward for the further part of the derivation. Okay. Let us now check with the other elements of the matrix, right? You can see off diagonal elements. Now off diagonal elements are categorized in two forms. One is P12, Maxwell's potential coefficient due to charge on conductor 2 on conductor 1. Okay. So P12, that is relating surface gradient, okay, dimensions of conductor 1 and conductor 2, right? So charge on conductor 1 and then effect on conductor 2, or charge on conductor 2 and effect on conductor 1. In either case, their heights are same, the distance between them is s, right? And distance between the images and the conductors, they are known to you here, okay? So clearly you can see whenever we are dealing with the adjacent conductors, it will be same applicable between 2, 3, 3, 2. Distance is same. From 2 to 3 you want to calculate, from 3 to 2 coefficients, right? So adjacent conductor, there will be 4 such terms in the matrix: 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2. Okay. So natural log of distance from the image of the other conductor. Let us say I am trying to find out electric field on Q2, okay, due to image of Q1. So distance is 4h square plus s square, okay, distance from the image first, and then distance from the actual conductor due to charge of the conductor. Image of Q1 and charge of Q1. So distance from Q1 is actually s. Remember, these are mutual ones: 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. So when I say 2, 3, I have to look at the distance from the image of 3 and then distance from the conductor 3 itself. So same thing can be applied and simplification can be done. This can be, like, let us say some term can be taken common and then ln under root 1 plus twice h upon s whole square. This can be obtained. Okay. Right. Now further, the only other combination that is remaining is with respect to off diagonal elements which are located at the far end. Correlation between conductor 1 and conductor 3. So there will be only two such terms: 1, 3 and 3, 1. 1, 3 and 3, 1. Right? So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3 terms we have already written for the diagonal. So 1, 3, 3, 1. we can write this term as equal to Ln. Distance from the image. Let us say I am talking about charges on Q1 due to Q3, right? So I have to take the distance of Q3 from the image of Q1 first. So that is under root of 4h square plus 4h square. Okay. So this is the numerator. Distance from the image and then upon the distance from the charge itself. So this is h plus h2h. Okay. This will be right, and we can simplify this as ln under root of 1 plus h by s whole square. So these kind of terms will be there. And what is the meaning of this? Now we have to put them in the form of equations for the potentials. We have to put them in the form of equations for the potential. So what are the potential equations? Potential at point, let us say charge conductor V1, okay, first charge Q1, okay. What is the voltage on this particular conductor? Voltage on this conductor will be contribution by the three charges. Q1 upon twice pi epsilon 0 P11, Q2 upon twice pi epsilon 0 P12, and then Q3 upon twice pi epsilon 0 P13. Okay. So potential on conductor 1 will be due to its own charge and also due to some of the effect of charges Q2 and Q3. And their images are also taken into account through these charge potential coefficients. So that makes the particular equation complete. Similarly, potential on second conductor will be equal to V2, okay, and this V2 will be equal to P21, P22, P23, right? Voltage on conductor 2 due to charge on 1, then due to charge on itself, and then due to charge on the third conductor. And by similar logic, we can write P3 will be equal to P31, then charge due to charge coefficient of conductor 1, then 32, and then 33. So all these coefficients already, they are actually the Maxwell's potential coefficient. They will depend upon the dimensions, and we have derived it for the single phase with effect of ground, and that logic we have applied to general any number of conductors, and we are using it for three conductors in this case in the form of Mangold formula.